Well, the author spotlight is an opportunity where you would share about your book and how
Okay.
it's working in your business.
Okay.
And it's an interview. I just finished doing one. Oops, sorry. I just finished doing one with another author. And usually they're 30 minutes or less. And I
Okay.
ask you some specific, I ask you about you. I ask you to share how you came to write the book,
Okay.
who the book is for.
Okay.
If there are, as you were doing the book, did you research? Did you find out, well, my book is like this one, but this is what I did different in mine. And then sharing, a cool story or two about you,
I
because
got
it
plenty of
really,
stories. You're just gonna have
I
to tell me
know
to
you
stop
do.
and
Yeah.
get me back on track, especially when I'm sleepy. Just say, hey, Cedric, all right, come back. So,
Doing? I now you published your book, yes?
oh yeah, it was published back in 2014.
Okay. And how has it been doing for you?
Awesome. I mean, I never expected anything. I never thought anybody would buy the book, right? Um, it was Ted Prodromou who put me up to it. He asked me about
Yeah,
my story.
yeah,
I told him about my story, and he was like, "Dude, you need to put that in a book." And I'm like, "Nobody wants to
yeah.
read a book about an army guy, right?" He like, "They want to
Oh,
read your
not
story,
true.
right?"
Not
You
true.
know,
Yeah, yeah. I
it.
know.
And once that thing was published, I mean, I got interviewed by newspapers. I was in the Army at the time. They had this
Yeah,
thing called the Army Recruiter Journal. They put me on that. I mean, it was like the whole world opened up. I mean, I got brought out to
yeah,
speak. I got a
yeah,
client that read the book. And basically, I was doing a lot of these, a lot of interviews
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
all kind of things. And ended up getting a client, one of my longest clients I ever had for
yeah.
I think it was 18 months, was paying me four figures as a retainer. And I didn't ask for it.
Wow.
She reached out to me. Because at the time, everybody comes out the woodworks when you, if your book is good and it's useful, everybody comes out the woodwork and they want to pick your brain. And I kind of got burned. I'm like, dude, I'm not helping nobody else for free. And she was like, Cedric, I know you're tired of helping people for free, right? And she was
Yeah.
like, I set aside $1,500 a month to pay you. And I'm like, I'll call you in 5 minutes. So that kind of,
Wow.
yeah,
Well, but how, okay. So typically, over a million books are published every year, new books.
right.
So so this was an existing client.
No, it
Oh,
wasn't a
she
client. It
wasn't.
was just somebody, she read my book. And actually, it was a family friend. Um,
Oh,
and she loved my book. She read it several times. And
yeah,
then I guess because she's in a different city and she
yeah.
reached out to me and she's like a financial genius,
Uh-huh.
very successful. And
Okay.
so she put me on retainer after reading my book several times because she kept talking about my book. And I was like, okay, that's
Oh,
cool. And then I never knew she wanted to pay me to consult her. So I consulted her on her business. Yeah.
that is wild. And
Mm.
so did you do any active marketing of your book?
Honestly, no. It was more word of mouth. People would
Mm-hmm.
read it and they would tell people, like, man, you need to read this book. It grew on its own. I mean, because
That's
doing this,
unusual.
it is unusual. That's what I'm saying. It changed my
Yeah.
life. It's a very unusual book. Ted would go and speak and he would tell people, y'all need to get this book. And so
Okay.
people would go and get it. And then they would
Yeah.
tell people, and it just kind of like, you ever heard of there's a book called, it reminds me of The Alchemist. It's not as popular as The Alchemist,
Mm-hmm.
but people talk about The Alchemist. They read this book
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
they tell people you need to read this book. But that's kind of how this book was like, but it wasn't planned that way. It's not how I just wrote it because I was told to write it. And
Yeah.
honestly, when I wrote it, I was like, okay, if I'm gonna write this book, I was like, I'm gonna write it for me. And so there's a lot of things I learned about sales that I didn't want to lose. And I put it all
Yeah.
in this book. Actually, I put my heart and soul in the book because I was like, I want to be able to pick it up and read it and apply it. And so that's how I wrote it.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I may just use our interview today as an author spotlight because you're really answering the question. So I'm going to keep on you on this. When you put this down, and it's a short book, right? It's about 100 some pages. Now you mentioned that you got a client, you started, working with her right away.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit more about that? How you were using the information and how that supported you in your business and how it supported the client you were consulting with?
Well, she just liked the book because they knew me as they read the book. They saw me because I talk about being depressed, suicidal. They knew me when I was down, and I didn't know that I could get back up. And they saw me go from the guy that was down, couldn't sell, to being a top, and doing very well in sales. So they saw it.
Yeah.
And then they got to read the book. And so what I consulted her on, it was a couple of things because she runs a business, and she really, I found out, and I consulted with, I noticed something about different business owners. Business owners, they know how to do their thing, whatever that thing is, whether it's real estate, financial knowledge, they know that. But they're not, and there's no put down on them. They're not very good at marketing themselves. They're not very good at the sales technique, right? So that's where I was brought in. And so I would just ask her questions. And it's like it's in their head. So basically my job was, I brought it out of her, and I would ask her questions like, well, you ever considered this? And I would ask, tell me about your business. And she would tell me about her business. And I was like, okay, hey, you ever thought about this? And she would be like, no, Cedric. I'm like, well, what if you did that? And she would go and do it, and it would bring, man, she made a lot of money. Right, she made a lot of money.
Wow. Well, this is interesting because when you're talking about, you went through depression and you felt suicidal. I really suffered from depression all up until probably my mid-30s, very severe. And I didn't even realize it. And then I got some help with that. And then I learned about exercise, which was also a way to, beat that. What do you think was your turning point? How did you go from feeling despair, because that's, what that is, to being able to turn that into a way that you can, be the top salesperson and to share that information?
So far as you're talking about coming out of the depression and the suicide, it was actually a friend who today is my wife. She wouldn't give up on me. So one thing about people, and this has been years ago, one thing about people that are contemplating suicide or harming themselves, they start pushing people away. And so I pushed all my friends away, and she was the last one to push away. And she would she wouldn't go. So she would talk to me in the morning, because I would start work at, I think, 7 or something in the morning. So she would call me at 6 in the morning, and I would tell her, I don't want to talk. And she was like, well, you don't have to talk. I'll do the talking. So she would talk to me from my apartment all the way to my job. And I didn't tell her at the time, but after her talking, by the time I got to my job, I was happy. I mean, just hearing her voice, because she has this calming voice. I was on top of the world by the time, and she kept doing this every single day. And she helped me get through it. And, and I started journaling about my day, and I did a challenge to myself. This is when things changed, and it helped me get out this slump. And I think anybody can do this. So I put myself on a 30-day challenge. I wanted to see what would happen if I actually prayed an hour in the morning. And I said, well, I don't know what's going to happen if I pray an hour a day for 30 days straight, right? And I'm a journalist thing, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if it was just endorphins. You can say it was God. I believe it was God. If you're not religious, you can say what you want.
Yeah.
I did this for 30 days, and I documented it. Day 1, nothing happened. day 2, day 3, but by the 15th day, I was meeting my numbers, and I was the guy in charge. By the 30th day, I was running a recruiting station in Houston, kind of like a storefront. By the 30th day, we became the top small station in the city of Houston, and I won an award for it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really cool, right?
You know, it's really nuts for me too. I think it's been over a year. I heard on one of the podcasts that I listened to, and I'm not even sure which one, I heard about the Gratitude Diaries.
Mm-hmm.
And that book is amazing, fantastic. People have been telling me, oh yeah, just write down 3 good things that happened to you during the day. And I thought, oh, this is such hogwash. And I said, okay,
right?
What? I know. And I said, okay, so it's hogwash. What do you have to lose? I said, okay, I'll do it for a month. I'll see what happens. And as I was listening to the book, and I started my journal, and I went, oh, so that's it. I'm reframing. What am I focusing on? I'm not focusing on, oh, I bumped my toe, I got a stubbed toe. I'm focusing on, oh, the birds are singing outside, there's sunshine, there's something good that happened. And so now I don't have to look so hard for the good stuff, and the bad stuff I'm going, you can stay over there. I'm not going into the dark forest. I'm staying over in this part of the world.
You just nailed it. You got it.
Amazing.
You got it.
Amazing.
You got it.
Woo. Well, so you transitioned out of being in the Army, and then you took those skills, and then how did you start using them?
So I started consulting with businesses, business owners, and people who knew me. And thankfully, a lot of people online, the online marketing community. One gentleman sent me a client that's actually in Canada. And I just started getting clients from word of mouth, another word of mouth. They would either read my book. Perry Marshall, he's the Google AdWords guy. Man, he's a really good guy.
Yeah. He
wrote about me in his newsletters, right? Really changed my life. So people would read his newsletters, and I guess they were like, people would reach out to me and they would ask, what business do you and Perry have? I'm like, we don't have any business. He was like, dude, he wrote about, I didn't even know Perry was writing about me.
Wow.
He's like, you're in his newsletter. I'm like, what? And so I read it, and I'm like, and I sent a message to Perry, and I'm like, dude, thank you. He just messaged me. He sent me a message back. It's well deserved, Cedric, So he helped. See, things like that. People write about you, because then everybody was like, well, who's this Cedric guy? And I'm just a regular guy. I don't have any superpowers. I'm just a regular guy.
Well, I think your superpower is you do tell stories, and you are relatable because you're very down to earth. And I think a lot of people, you and I have both done it. We run into people who are salespeople, and we're running out the door because we don't want to get blasted by them. We don't want to get manipulated by them. And that is so not who you are. But you're not manipulating people. You're sharing information. I mean, I think that's really where you're coming from. It's coming from the heart.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's good stuff. Now, how did you meet Ted? Because Ted and I have been friends for about 20 years.
I want to say it was through maybe Perry Marshall put something out, and I went and got Ted's book from like the bookstore, and I read it, and I started applying it, and I started getting results. And I sent Ted a message on LinkedIn, and he sent me something back. Oh yeah, I know what I said. I said, I read your book, and I liked it, and I got some results. And Ted said, thanks. However, you need to change the headline on your LinkedIn. Like, so I changed my headline.
Yeah.
And I came back to him. I asked him, would he be my mentor? And he was like, sure. And he became my mentor. And honestly, that led to this.
Yeah.
Ted being my mentor.
Yeah. And that's definitely Ted. And for those of you who don't know, we're talking about Ted Prodromou, who wrote The Ultimate Guide to LinkedIn. And I seriously, I have known Ted for 20 years. We served on a board together for the Bay Area Consultants Network. We, worked on some meetups together on video and different things. And Ted is one of the most genuine,
Yes.
generous people in the universe. He's also very smart. And he used to be very shy. He's still shy, but he learned how to deliver his message with confidence and power because he paid attention to how to do that. And so he's a student. He's still a student, but he's also a fabulous mentor. Brilliant guy. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Are you thinking in terms of, sharing your message? And like you said, yours kind of just spread organically. Mm-hmm. If there was a way for us to help you connect with the people you want to be talking to, what could we do? So people who are watching this, how could they support you?
Good question. So I've had so many industries contact me and use my stuff, but currently I'm making cold calls.
Yeah.
And lately I've helped a gentleman. He paid me to teach him how to do cold calls. And so I've gotten really good. Well, I'm okay with outreach, cold outreach.
Yeah.
And so anybody that has sales teams, that's where my heart is at, really, helping sales teams. I'm okay. I don't toot my horn too good.
Yeah, you're being modest here.
So yeah. Anybody that has sales teams that want to know, how, because it's more to it than just picking up the phone or sending an email. There's some internal stuff that goes on with salespeople that I don't think a lot of people understand. You got to be able to come to them from that standpoint.
Well, could you give an example? I mean, because I don't like doing cold calls. I mean, yeah, hate it.
Most people don't. I actually don't like making cold calls either. However, because it's a very uncomfortable situation doing cold outreach, salespeople have a tendency to get beat down. And so that's how you're getting your revenue. That's why you have this team doing outreach to bring in revenue. Right. You got to be able to understand, hey, every now and then you need to pick that person up. Ask them, hey, how are you doing? They just want to know that somebody cares about them. Are they going to waver? And they're not going to, there are studies that show in most industries, salespeople work, I think it's 35% of the time. So there are companies that are paying salespeople, but only getting 35% of the work out of them, and they don't even know it.
Ooh.
But if they paid attention, there are studies that show the percentage.
Yeah. Well, it sounds a little bit like your now wife, showing people that they're being seen and heard is one of the best ways to connect with other people. Yes. And that applies if you're having a conversation, if you're looking to create a relationship, if you want to have better sales. If you called on me and I feel like you really care about me, I'm more likely to want to do business with you.
Right.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
The problem I have is I consult with other businesses and I do all kinds of stuff. I don't know. Honestly, Judy, the problem that I have is I read so many books, right? Like I read David Ogilvy.
Oh, yes. I have that one too.
And so the people who know me, they'll contact me. I helped a guy launch a trucking company. Just different crazy businesses.
Yes.
A gentleman came to me. Now he's in, I think, doing home loans. And so, but the thing is, most businesses at their core are really marketing businesses. So when you understand that, you can really help any business. Mm-hmm.
So. If there was one thing you would tell a business owner who is an author about a successful thing they could do, or something they could do that would enhance their book sales and their business sales, because to me they're related, what would you tell them to do?
Before the book is written or after?
It can be either one. How about after? Because a lot of times people think, oh, it's this big launch, woo! And I try to tell people, yeah, that's a day in the life of your book, but your book's going to live a lot longer than that publication date.
So I would give a different advice for it before, boy. If you've already written the book, I would just do what I do now for my company. I would write stories and provide a link to that book. People love stories. They are crazy about stories. I would write a story, a true story, and relate it somehow to the book, and people will go and read like, okay, I like the story. Let me read whatever else this person put as the author.
And where are you publishing most of your stories? Are you
on LinkedIn? On LinkedIn.
Okay. And because my primary audience, like yours, is nonfiction business owners, pay attention, y'all. We're telling you, use LinkedIn. It is a fabulous way to connect with your audience. And now you can create a newsletter on LinkedIn, which is nuts. Plus, Cedric, you also pointed out you started getting picked up because Ted talked about you, Perry Marshall talked about you. And that happened not because you went, oh, help me. You said, thank you for sharing this information with me. So you were generous. It was a true expression. You said, this is what I got from what you shared. And then they got back with you because you were being a real person. You weren't saying, oh, I'm this lonely little person over here. You were really sharing that you liked what they did.
Well, of course, yes.
Yeah. Well, not everybody knows this. A lot of people have their hand out before they extend thank yous.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
A lot of big names have helped me. It's very humbling. If I was to name some names, it's amazing. I don't even know why they do it. It's big names have reached out and like said, look, check this out. And I'm like, you're talking to me? But it's pretty cool. If you just show gratitude to people, it's amazing. What Zig Ziglar said, you can have everything in life if you just help and other people get what they want. It's very true.
I think it totally is. Now, if people want to connect with you, how would they get in touch with you?
LinkedIn is the best way. Just Cedric Crumbley on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's pretty awesome. And I'm going to be directing people your direction because this is the other critical part about being an author. Your author is a product. And if you don't treat it like a product, no one's ever going to hear about it. And it's okay because your message is so beautiful. You've embodied that you can show up and share it without being slimy. Right. Because a lot of people think sales and they go, oh, right. Bad word, or marketing, oh, bad word. It's not a bad word. You are simply having a conversation and being helpful. And I love it. Oh, you are so wonderful. What I'm going to do right now is just do my outro because I wasn't quite sure we were going to do it this way. But this has been an author spotlight on Cedric Crumbley. And I'm Judy Baker, book marketing mentor. And if you want to be an author in the spotlight, get in touch with me at bookmarketingmentor.com. And definitely check out Cedric on LinkedIn.